Hey everybody, Nathan Elson here. Welcome back to the channel. Now, over the past probably 6 months, there's been a lot of companies that have sent me various bits of gear, be it lighting or modifiers, that kind of thing, under the premise of, hey, if you like this and you want to talk about it and make a video about it, that would be great. And my general response to them is, that's fine, you can send me whatever you like, but if I don't like it, I'm not going to make something about it just because you sent it to me. Now, as you have probably guessed, there hasn't been any review videos on my channel over these past 6 months, so there hasn't been anything that's come down the line that I've actually been excited about. I've actually contacted a lot of the companies and just said, you know what, send me a return shipping label and I'll give this back to you, because either the build quality isn't there or the lights just don't work properly, different things like that, that if I'm not going to use it, I'm not going to talk about it and try to tell you guys that maybe it's something that you should look into. If I don't like it, I don't expect you to like it. Now, that being said, there's a company called iFootage that came out, and if you haven't heard of iFootage, where is it here? They've basically been the company that took different things like grip gear, engineered them to make them so much better than they were, and just created a product that was just phenomenal. It's my favorite grip gear. I think anyone who's ever tried it, it's their favorite grip gear. It's unreal. But they reached out to me and they said, listen, we've got this new product and it's called Anglerfish and it's lighting and we would like for you to test it out. And I said to them, that sounds great. You guys already make an awesome product. I trust that you're going to make a good product when it comes to lighting, but if I'm not a fan of it, I'm not going to talk about it, just so you know. And they said, that's totally fine. We get it. If you don't like it, is what it is. Now, that being said, I'm here to talk to you guys about this. This is the iFootage SL1 60DN light. And this thing is game changing and just straight up amazing. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take you guys through the bag and kind of how it's all put together, because they actually did something that I haven't seen in a lot of bags that come from these various light manufacturing companies. And I think it's pretty cool. So let's get you into this first and then we'll get into the actual light. So the bag itself, it's your standard nylon bag, which you see with a lot of lighting companies. They did do something kind of cool here where they added these top straps on here with some Velcro. You could use these to attach either a small light stand or a modifier, something like that. But when you open up into the bag, this is where things get better than what I've seen from most companies. Now, you've got your power cord here. When we take this off, everything has a home, which I find to be super cool. Now, everything is within this really dense, thick padded foam, so it's very protected. You've got your reflector here and it's got its own little home there, so you don't even need that top piece. You put that in there and it's not going anywhere. Then from there you've got your power adapter with your little hanging cord, and then the light itself, and everything is just, it's placed in here so well and cut out perfectly. When you put everything back in here, if you're out traveling, you're moving around, bag falls out of the car, anything like that, if this gets jiggled around, nothing is going to hurt this light, which is awesome for a bag to know that, when everything is packed in here and you've got this top piece set on top of here, everything is locked in. It can tumble out, it can fall out. If you're traveling a lot with this stuff, you don't have to worry about it getting damaged in transit, and that's just awesome. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the light. Now, there are a lot of specs on this light, and I'm not really a specs guy. I'll list them all right here so you can check them all out. But with me, it's all about how things work, how they feel, and whether or not I actually enjoy using them. And that is something that I have really kind of fallen in love with this light. And I just want to talk to you about the light, the build, how it's set up, and who I think this would actually be a perfect fit for. Now, for the light itself, I just want to show you guys something here real quick, just in terms of size. This is an i12 mini. This is the light. They are almost identical in size from your width. This is my pocket knife. If I take this It's actually shorter than my knife. And my knife, this is not a giant knife. This is just your standard little pocket knife. And this is still longer than this light, which is crazy. I mean, the size on this thing is just, it's amazing. It fits in the palm of your hand. Now, when it comes to the build quality, you do have some plastic on here, but it's a very hard, thick, dense plastic. Nothing about this light feels cheap. Now on the top, you've got this metal grate, same thing with on the bottom, and then your release pin is also metal as well, which is a really nice touch. Now the lever here is again plastic, but again, it doesn't feel cheap. You've got some metal hardware here, and if you need to adjust this, you can just push that in and turn that. That gives you a stepless positioning of the knob so that you can readjust it. So if it's tightened down there, or say you loosened it off here, you want to tighten that up, but that's where it tightens down. You just push in, that gets it out of the way. Again, just, you know, things that are fairly standard on lights nowadays, but this is just, it's really well designed. Everything, nothing is loose, nothing feels cheap or gimmicky about it. It just feels like a solid unit. And that is just that's something that I look for every time I try new lighting, is the build quality. How does it feel? So now that we get into the actual back of this, you've got your two knobs here, one for your power, one for your settings. You've got your standard DC power in, and then you've got a Type-C power connector here, but just a small caveat there, you do need at least a 70-watt power supply in order to power this light off of the Type-C connector. So if you're using just sort of like a standard iPhone, you know, plug-in cord, something like that, that's not gonna power this properly. You do need at least 70 watts in order for this light to power properly. So just to show you guys how this turns on, you can either do a long press, and that will turn it on, and then of course a long press to turn it off, or you can do a quick press, that will also turn it on, and a quick press to turn it off. And I think that's just so that people who are used to one or the other, whether or not they come up and they just quickly turn on a light and it turns on, or if they're used to doing a long press, both options are there so that you feel comfortable with the light right out of the box. Now when it comes to the power, you've got 0 to 100% stepless adjustment, meaning that it goes up by 0.1% every time you turn the knob. So that allows you to really fine tune this light into exactly the power that you need it to be at. Now that being said, if you want to jump up and power quickly, if you push in on the knob here, it'll automatically jump up to 20. You push it again, it jumps up to 40, 60, 80, and 100, and then off. Again, just really clean, really easy to use. The knobs themselves, they have a very tactile feel. You can feel it click. It doesn't feel cheap. It feels very exact, very spot on. Every time you turn the knob, it goes up, it's 0.1%. It's really well made, and I get excited when things are properly made. Unfortunately, the world we live in, not everything is. Now, another thing that's great about this is when you're at the dimmest power, you don't get any flicker, which is nice. I've had lights in the past where when you get down into those lower power settings, they can have a little bit of a flicker to them. These lights do not have that. They remain a constant, steady beam, which is fantastic. They've also got some built-in special effects modes, 8 of them, from like fireworks to a broken light to different things like that. They're not things that I use very often, but if it's something that, you know, you do use and you can find use for it, I mean, again, it's something I feel like it's pretty standard in lights nowadays, but these also have those options built into them. Now, you also can't have lighting nowadays that isn't run by a smart app on your phone. With that being said, this Anglerfish series does have an app. It works incredibly well. This is the beta version that I've been using, so there's been a couple of bugs that we've had to sort through, but all in all, it's been super consistent. It just allows you to go through everything on your light very, very quickly. So you can just essentially dial in, tap onto your light. It gives you all of your dimming curves. It allows you to go into your effects and you can select your fireworks, your lightning, your welding, whatever, different things that way. And then you can essentially just adjust your power either with this slider, or you can come in and you can actually input a specific amount. So say you want it to be 10%, click done, and off you go. It's super clean, super easy. It works incredibly well. It attaches to multiple lights. I've got 2 of the lights on here. I've got another light that Anglerfish sent me. It's a 220 version. I'm not going to talk about it in this video. I'll talk about it in another video, but I'm using these 2 lights simultaneously. simultaneously. I just can't get that word out. Anyways, I'm using these lights together and the app works flawlessly with them. So now that we've talked about the light and its build, the last kind of thing to go over is modifiers. Now this is a mini Bowens mount. So what that means is it's a smaller mount than your standard Bowens line. But they did send me this adapter that actually works incredibly well. You clip that on and off you go. Now you've got your standard Bowens mount. The light itself, the stand will go into the adapter so that the weight isn't pulling down on the light. So the light is sitting independently, and then you've got your adapter here and then your modifier. Now, one of the modifiers that I've been using consistently with this light is this light dome here. And I don't remember the exact size of it, but I will post it here. Now, the way this works is, again, now you've got your standard Bowens mount and you just take your modifier, clip it on, and off you go. This, I think, is a perfect setup when it comes to YouTube. This is what I've been using as of late, and it works flawlessly. It's just such a nice, compact, easy setup. The modifier itself is made extremely well. The materials are great. The rods are nice and stiff. It goes together really easily. Even the diffusion material, it doesn't feel cheap. It feels nice and thick. They made good gear, and I'm happy about it. So with that being said, who do I think this light is for? Well, like I just said, I think this is going to be an amazing piece of kit for YouTubers. Anybody who has, an in-office setup or anything like that, this is the perfect light for that. It's small, it's out of the way. It allows you to have an amazing source of light that doesn't get caught up in small spaces. You could take 3 or 4 of these lights and throw them into a camera bag and just have an entire kit if you need to go somewhere, if you're doing interviews, if you need little pockets of light that you can tuck away in behind something so it's not in the way and you need to light a wall or anything like that. Like, the output out of these things is amazing. So it's one of those things where anybody who creates content for YouTube, I think this is it. I think this is the light. This is going to be my go-to for almost everything. I'm going to permanently mount this one in my office. This will be my desk setup light without question. And anytime that I need to travel anywhere, if I'm doing anything that is kind of like on location and stuff like that, I might pick up a couple more of these just to kind of create that kit. I think this is the perfect light for anyone who needs to be mobile and who needs a lot of power in a small package. And so there you go. That is my quick rundown of the SL1 60DN from iFootage in their Anglerfish series. I will link the product down in the description below. This is not a sponsored video. I'm not getting any type of kickback from these sales. If you guys like it, buy it. It's one of those things where I trust it enough and I love it enough that I'm willing to say to you that I think this is something that you guys should definitely look into and purchase if it's going to fit your needs. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in here. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you again very, very soon. Cheers.